When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I don't know why I smiled. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was pride. Or maybe it was because I had already learned how to hide my pain behind silence. I remember standing there in the doorway, holding my small bag. The house was quiet, too quiet for a place that once felt full of life. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't shout. Her words were calm, almost polite. "I think it would be better if you stayed somewhere else for a while." That was all she said. I nodded. I said, "All right." And inside, something gently broke. As I stepped outside, the air felt heavier than usual. The sky was grey, the kind of grey that feels like it understands you. I walked slowly. Each step felt like I was leaving more than a house behind. I was leaving memories, laughter, prayer, a life I thought would last until my last breath. That night, as I sat alone in a small room I had borrowed from a friend, I whispered the only words my heart could form. "I surrender my day to you, Lord." I didn't ask questions. I didn't complain. I just placed the pain in his hands. And this is how that journey began. I am not a woman of big dreams. I never was. My happiness was always simple: a clean home, a warm meal, family sitting together at the table, a short prayer before sleeping. I raised my son with love and discipline. His father passed away when he was young, so it was just the two of us for a long time. I worked quietly. I prayed silently. I never asked for praise. When my son got married, I thanked God. I truly did. She seemed kind at first, soft-spoken, respectful. On the wedding day, I held her hands and said, "From today, you are my daughter too." She smiled, but her eyes looked away. I didn't think much of it then. We all lived in the same house. It made sense financially. It made sense emotionally. At least it made sense to me. I believed family should stay together, support each other, pray together. Every morning I woke up early. I made tea. I cleaned the kitchen. I whispered my prayers as the sun rose. "I surrender my day to you, Lord. Guide my steps. Keep peace in this home." At first, things were quiet but fine. No fights, no harsh words, just distance. I noticed the changes slowly. She stopped joining me in the kitchen. She stopped asking for help. She stopped sitting with me after dinner. I told myself she was busy. I told myself young people need space. When my son came home tired, I would say, "Sit, I'll serve you." She would say gently, "No, Mom, I've already done it." Her smile never reached her heart. Sometimes I heard them talking in their room, not arguing, just whispering, and every time I heard my name, my chest tightened. But I never asked. I never questioned. I believed silence would keep peace. At night, when everyone slept, I sat on my prayer mat. "I surrender my day to you, Lord. If I have made mistakes, forgive me. If I am a burden, give me patience." I didn't realize then that patience can sometimes look like disappearing. One afternoon, I overheard her on the phone. "I didn't sign up for this," she said quietly. "I wanted my own space." I froze where I stood. My heart didn't race, it sank. I went back to the kitchen and kept washing dishes. My hands shook, but the water covered it. That evening, I served dinner as usual. I smiled as usual. My son avoided my eyes. That hurt more than her words. Still, I said nothing. I thought love meant endurance. I thought faith meant silence. I whispered before bed, "I surrender my day to you, Lord, and tomorrow too." I didn't know tomorrow would ask for more than I was ready to give. Looking back now, I understand something I didn't understand then. Pain does not arrive loudly. It arrives gently, like a door closing without a sound. And when it does, all you can do is place your heart in God's hands and hope He knows what to do with it. That night, I slept with my bag already packed. Not because I planned to leave, but because somewhere deep inside, my soul already knew. The next morning came quietly. No one mentioned the night before. No one mentioned the silence. Life moved on, as if nothing had shifted. I woke before dawn, as I always did. The house was still asleep. I moved softly, careful not to make noise. I made tea. I wiped the counters. I stood by the window and watched the sky slowly change color. I surrender my day to you, Lord, I whispered. Whatever today brings, help me accept it. When my son came into the kitchen, he looked tired. Not just from work, from carrying something heavy inside. Good morning, I said. Morning, Mom, he replied, forcing a smile. We drank tea in silence. I wanted to ask him if he was okay. I wanted to ask if I had done something wrong. But the words stayed stuck in my chest. Sometimes silence feels safer than truth. As days passed, I felt myself becoming smaller, not physically, but emotionally. I stayed in my room more often. I stopped offering help unless I was asked. I folded my clothes neatly. I kept my belongings in one corner. I didn't want to take up space. When guests came over, I stayed quiet. When family laughed, I smiled politely. I felt like a visitor in my own home. One evening, I overheard her speaking again. She doesn't mean harm, my son said softly. She's just old-fashioned. There was a pause. I need peace in my own house, she replied. Peace. That word stayed with me all night. Was I noise in her peace? Was my presence a disturbance? I didn't cry. I just lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I surrender my day to you, Lord, I whispered again. Even if it means surrendering my place. Sometimes the hardest part wasn't the present. It was the memories. I remembered when my son was small, how he used to wait for me by the door, how he called my name when he was scared. I remembered cooking his favorite meals, sitting by his bed when he was sick, praying over him when he left for work. I didn't regret any of it, but now those memories felt like they belonged to another life. I asked myself quietly, when did love become inconvenience? There was no answer, only silence. One afternoon she came into my room. She stood near the door, didn't sit, didn't smile. I wanted to talk to you, she said. I nodded. I think it's time we had some boundaries. The word felt sharp, like a knife wrapped in soft cloth. I understand, I said calmly. She looked surprised. Maybe she expected resistance, maybe tears. You've done a lot for us, she continued, but thin. G's are different now. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I think you should start thinking about other arrangements. There it was, not yet a command, but a direction. I felt my heart tighten, but my voice stayed steady. Of course, I said. Whatever is best. She nodded and left. I sat on my bed for a long time after that. My hands rested in my lap, my breathing slow. I surrender my day to you, Lord, I whispered, even this moment. Some people ask later why I didn't argue, why I didn't remind them of everything I gave. The truth is simple. I didn't want to be where I wasn't wanted. Love that must be demanded is no longer love. And faith had taught me something over the years. Sometimes God removes you from a place, not to punish you, but to protect your heart. Still, knowing that didn't stop the ache. That evening, my son didn't come to dinner. He stayed in their room. I packed a few things quietly. Clothes, my prayer book, a small photo of our family from years ago. I didn't know where I would go yet. I just knew I wouldn't stay much longer. When he finally came to my door, his eyes were red. Mom, he said softly. I didn't know how to say this. I looked at him, really looked at him. I know, I said gently. It's okay. He tried to speak again, but his voice broke. I reached out and held his hand. You don't have to choose, I told him. I already have. That night, I prayed longer than usual. I surrender my day to you, Lord, and tomorrow, and wherever you lead me next. Sometimes life doesn't shatter all at once. It cracks slowly. A word here, a silence there. Until one day you realize you've already been standing at the door without knowing it. And soon, the door would finally close. The days after that conversation felt longer, not because more happened, but because less did. No one asked where I was going. No one asked when. The house continued its routines, work, meals, sleep. Only I felt like I was slowly fading out of the picture. I spent more time outside, sitting on the small bench near the gate, watching people pass by who had no idea what was happening inside me. Sometimes neighbors waved. I waved back. No one knew I was preparing to leave the place I once called home. I surrender my day to you, Lord, I whispered each morning. Give me strength to finish what I must. Packing is a strange thing. You don't just pack clothes, you pack years. Each item carried a memory, a story, a season of my life. A shawl I wore when my son graduated, a cup he once bought me with his first salary, old letters from my husband. I touched each thing slowly. Some I kept, some I left behind. Not because they didn't matter, but because carrying everything would break my heart. I folded my prayer mat carefully. It was worn at the edges. This will come with me, I said quietly. Wherever I went, I wanted to kneel the same way. One evening I heard laughter from the living room. They were watching some thing on television, laughing freely. I stood in the hallway, unsure whether to join. For a moment, I felt like a child waiting to be invited. Then I turned back, not out of anger, out of understanding. That laughter wasn't for me anymore. In my room, I sat on the bed and closed my eyes. I surrender my day to you, Lord, I whispered, and my place in this family. A single tear fell. Just one. It landed on my hand and disappeared. There were so many things I wanted to say. I wanted to tell my daughter-in-law that I never meant to interfere, that I only wanted to help, that I thought love meant closeness. I wanted to tell my son that letting go didn't mean I loved him less, but words once spoken cannot be taken back. And sometimes silence is the only way to keep dignity. So I kept my thoughts between me and God. He was the only one who truly listened. One morning she approached me again. This time her voice was firmer. My cousin has a room you can stay in, she said. It's only temporary. I nodded. Thank you, I replied. My son stood behind her. His eyes were on the floor. No one asked how I felt. No one asked if I was ready. It was decided. I went back to my room and sat quietly. I surrender my day to you, Lord, I whispered. This decision too. That night, sleep didn't come easily. I listened to the sounds of the house, doors closing, lights switching off. I touched the walls gently, as if saying goodbye without words. In the kitchen, I made one last cup of tea. I washed the cup myself, placed it back neatly. No one noticed. Back in my room, I sat on my bed with my bag beside me. I gave everything I had, I whispered, and now I give this too. I opened my prayer book and read slowly, not asking for change, not asking for justice, only asking for peace. Morning arrived without ceremony, no breakfast together, no farewell words. I put on my shoes quietly. As I stepped outside, I paused at the door. I looked back once. The house looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. I surrender my day to you, Lord, I said softly. Lead me where I need to be. I closed the door behind me. Leaving does not always mean walking away. Sometimes it means choosing peace over staying where your heart feels heavy. I didn't know what waited for me next, but I knew one thing: God was walking with me, even now.